Director of the Institute. It's my great honor to welcome you to the opening of our exhibition with photographs by Durdy Bayramov, a famous Turkmenistan artist. And let me say a couple of words here in the beginning just to introduce the Institute and the role that culture plays in it. I took over this Institute in 2012, and one of the priorities that I set for myself was to give culture and cultural events a somewhat more prominent role than it was handled in the past. And I have to say that my colleagues, in particular Professor Malena Roel, the director of the Central Asia program, really met this initiative with great enthusiasm. And so we've had a number of interesting culture-related events, and a place where usually you hear political discussions and panels. Suddenly we had events with Central Asian music, for example, so things that were unheard of before. And one of the great successes was an exhibit that Malena Roel organized on socialist realism in Central Asian art, and that was done with the help cooperation of the GW Textile Museum, and this was really a fascinating experience. Those of you who had a chance will probably agree with me that you had those paintings and at the same time all kinds of other artifacts from Central Asia, and the dialogue between those paintings and the artifacts was just quite amazing, and the effect was quite amazing. So we're trying to actually cover the territory that our institute is researching, not just in an analytical and political and historical manner, but also in a cultural and in an artistic manner. And I think Durdy Bayramov is a particularly interesting case because he did have a very significant connection to the West and actually to North America, to Canada, which is, I think, one of the most fascinating aspects of this. And I think the daughter of Durdy Bayramov will say a little bit about this later on, because her father spent 6 months in Canada and came back with sketches and so on and so on. I learned that his real name is Bayram, not Bayramov, right? So that the Ov is kind of a Russified ending, and that he might be referred to as Durdy Bayram. But be this as it may, he became famous as Durdy Bayramov, and of course as a painter. We don't have the ability to exhibit paintings here. Our space is too small. I'd love to do that, but we cannot for obvious logistical reasons. But I find it really interesting that those photographs that are collected and that are exhibited here stand by themselves. I think the artist didn't mean them to be artifacts. They didn't mean them for an exhibition. They were more like sketches or sketchbook equivalents. So he just traveled and took those photographs in order to inspire his own imagination and his memory. And when you look at them, this of course makes them particularly authentic, right? Photography, of course, really wins from not being made for static exhibition and exhibiting purposes, but rather being just in the moment and catching this, freezing this time, right? And these photographs really did capture a moment in time that will never come back, and that is actually, of course, now ancient history from the 1960s and 70s. And those portraits and those landscapes and those group portraits really make for a fascinating viewing. So whenever I see people, students, faculty come here and look at those photographs, and they will have a chance to do so for 3 more months until May, that is really beautiful, because that's what an institute should also do apart from the more analytical and research purposes. What I also learned is that I looked up some of the paintings online, because there's quite a bit. There are quite a few resources there that the forte were landscapes and portraits, and you have a similar interest that you can see also here in the photographic work of Durdy Bayramov, a real honored, famous artist now, and after his passing in 2014, a foundation is taking care of his legacy, and the visibility of it is actually growing by the year. So again, it's my honor to welcome you to this exhibition, to the opening of this exhibition, and I'd like to pass the floor now to His Excellency Millet Orazov, the Ambassador of Turkmenistan in the United States, to also say a few opening words. So welcome, Mr. Ambassador.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's nice to be here, and good afternoon. It is with great pleasure that I support the opening of the travel exhibition through the eyes of Durdy Bayramov, Turkmen Village Life, across the educational institutions of Canada, United States, and the rest of the world. I am happy to support the introduction of Durdy Bayramov's heritage and legacy. I would like to thank our generous hosts. Thank you very much. The GW Central Asia Program for hosting and launching this travel exhibition and supporting the promotion of Turkmen culture and art. Without a doubt, Durdy Bayramov is one of the most iconic figures in the history of Turkmen culture and art. I personally had the privilege of meeting academician Bayramov, who struck me as a humble and kind man. Bayramov was a nationally known artist and achieved some of the highest and most prestigious accolades for an artist in Turkmenistan during his life. We are grateful to have Durdy Bayramov's works in all of the main museums in the capital city of Ashgabat in Turkmenistan. His arts will be enjoyed by generations of Turkmens to come. Durdy Bayramov made a significant impact on the art education and the culture of Turkmenistan. He represented our country well at numerous international events, and his paintings were always held in high regard not only in our home country but also abroad. Well-known museums, Old Master Picture Gallery in Dresden, Germany, and State Tretchikov Gallery in Moscow, Russia, acquired his paintings because of his extraordinary talent. In addition to painting, Bayramov spent a considerable part of his artistic career engaged in photography. He became interested in photography during the 1960s. The present exhibition introduces a previously unknown area of Bayramov's artworks. These historic photographs share a rare historic glimpse into the daily lives, customs, and culture of some Turkmen villagers during that period. However, it is important to understand that even in the 60s, the general nature of Turkmen rural areas was very diverse. There was a powerful process of agricultural industrialization, which finally brought Turkmenistan to the second place as the cotton producer in the former Soviet Union. Unfortunately, this industrialization, combined with communistic ideology, was not very sensitive to the cultural heritage of nations, including, of course, Turkmen traditions. From this point of view, Bayramov's work is unique. Through the photographs, he brought well-documented important elements of lifestyle and culture of our nation to the future generations of Turkmen people. Since then, Turkmenistan has undergone significant changes, economic growth and transformation, but the key trait of these photographs, from the point of view of lifestyle, remains the same, and it is a powerful sense of the universal condition of love, family values, warmth, and appreciation for Turkmenistan cultural heritage. Now I would like to say a few words about current priorities of Turkmenistan. First of all, we are amid presidential elections to be held on February 12th. This election will be held under the umbrella of a new constitution of the country, which was adopted in September 2016. Besides routine government work, in January, President Berdimuhamedov announced three main priorities. The first one, in September 2017, we will have Asian Games. It's a big event for us, and if somebody would be able to come, we would be very glad to see you as a guest of this event. Turkmenistan second. Turkmenistan will be the chair in Energy Forum for 2017. This is an international organization with headquarters in Brussels, with 57 countries members. And you know that for Turkmenistan, energy policy also is a very important part of our activities. The third one is about ecology. Turkmenistan will be the chair in Asia, in RLC, a multi-government council for 3 years, starting from this year. This council, you maybe know, combined with all Central Asia countries, and we care about and think about how to protect RLC, and plus all surrounding problems about environment and ecology. And as usual, Turkmenistan will also pay special attention to cultural cooperation between countries. Particularly, this year, we will be trying to organize Cultural Days of Turkmenistan in the US with support of Mr. Paul Taylor. And to conclude my remarks, I would like to congratulate the Durdy Bayramov Foundation for their important work. Primarily, the foundation was created with the goal of introducing life and works of Durdy Bayramov to the broader world. Now that it has grown significantly, I see the foundation is embracing an idea of promoting Turkmen culture in various ways, and it is a wonderful approach. I wish the foundation a long and successful lifespan. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much to Professor Olberg and Professor Marwell and Ambassador Razov. I should speak only for a moment, because I think everybody wants to hear the daughter of the great Turkmen painter, Durdy Bayramov, Keya Bayramova, who's here from Canada. And I'm just speaking on behalf of the Smithsonian. My name is Paul Michael Taylor, and I'm a curator and research anthropologist at the Smithsonian Institute Anthropology Department, and head of our Asian Cultural History program. We are delighted to have been working with the Bayramov Foundation and co-producer of this book. It's part of a series of work with Turkmenistan that we've been doing thanks to the government of Turkmenistan Ministry of Culture, and also to Chevron. It's been a great sponsor, and the U.S. State Department since about the beginning of 2011. And that includes two of the so-called Turkmenistan Culture Days. That's 2 times. That's one in 2011 and one in 2013 that were done here, and American Culture Days that were done also in Turkmenistan in exchange. This is a concept that I had not heard of when I first arrived in Turkmenistan in February 2011, but something very important to the Turkmen. But my first thought was, I need to find an English translation for this term, and but we settled on just using Culture Days, and has been very successful. We hope, in fact, as part of the George Washington University's involvement in culture of Central Asia, that GWU will also be a partner in Turkmenistan Culture Days the next month. Anyway, just very quickly about the importance of this exhibition that I see as something very important. This is the first time it's been out. This is the second venue, but it's the first time outside of where it was organized, in what we can call the home museum, if you use that again, the Russian home museum of Bayramov himself during the short period in 2012 when he lived in Canada. And it's now become a center, a real center for the study of his works, thanks to his daughter and others who have set up the Bayramov Foundation there. I think that's a very important initiative. The works that you see here on display was the first exhibition organized there. At the Home Museum, it was the first exhibition organized. It was part of the big Toronto Photography Festival, which included many, many other exhibitions. And it's to the credit of the curators, Robert Pension and Amanda Shear, that they chose to present Bayramov's photographs not really as something subsidiary or ancillary to his paintings, because nobody knew that Bayramov was a photographer. I mean, he was a very important painter in the Soviet Union, and one of the great benefits of the breakup of the Soviet Union and the resurgent independent states that followed, including Turkmenistan, is that these artists who were so important there are starting to become better known outside the kind of closed circle of famous artists of the Soviet Union. And that's something we can be grateful for. I think if this were taking place in Moscow or Tbilisi or someplace, people would be much more familiar with the artist. But nobody knew he was a photographer. And the curators have not treated the photographs as just a kind of snapshot for purposes of later making a painting. Some of them had that purpose, yes, but they clearly don't just have that purpose. So they are really works of art in their own right. The second thing I would say, and one reason why we at the Asian Cultural History Program of the Smithsonian are so honored to be involved in this, is that they are very important visual documents of the cultural heritage of a unique period, as the Ambassador Razov was mentioning in the history of Turkmenistan, a very important period in the 1960s to 1980s. And in many of these places, since that time, the photographs didn't even survive, so I think we're also now at a point where we're a generation that can still, and I hope this will be one of the goals of our foundation and others working together, get some of these images back to the villages and places where they were taken to document who these people are and more information about the photographs themselves. There are considerable labels and information about these photographs, and you'll find them in this book. I hope you all have a chance to get this book. And I think it's a very, very good contribution. So that's something that I hope will happen, and I just could go on and on about that, but I will just add one note, if I may. It was a great pleasure to meet a few months ago the widow of the late Durdy Bayramov and the other children, and visit their home in Ashgabat. But I note in this book, in Keya Bayramova's remembrance at the beginning, she notes that her father always regretted so much that he never, as an orphan, he never met his parents. And if you look, sometimes you can see that he's spent a great deal of attention on finding and photographing elderly people, as if maybe that he kind of imagined that someone like that might be his parents. And that's one of the great advantages, I think, of having a collection like this and having it reach people within Turkmenistan, that actually these are the photographs from the 1960s and 80s that survive from the many villages and places that he visited. And this is just one part of a very large archive of his photographs, correspondence, and paintings that are displayed, that are held in Toronto now at this foundation, and the paintings themselves are displayed along with the photographs. So many people throughout Turkmenistan, given the situation since that time, did not have continuous availability of photographs. And I think that as these photographs circulate and become better known there, many families will benefit from people who can say, I know these people, I knew this person when I was young, and so on. And many people who never saw images of their own ancestors and parents and grandparents and so on will be able to see them for the first time in these photographs. So I think it's a very, in many ways, important contribution that Keya Bayramova has really spearheaded on behalf of her whole family and many other people for the memory of her father and for the benefit of people who study Turkmenistan and for the Turkmen people themselves. And I want to congratulate her and her foundation, and congratulations also to George Washington University for having this exhibition here. Well, I've spoken too long, but I hope I've done a little bit to introduce Mrs. Keya Bayramova. Welcome to Washington.
Thank you.
Can I show her new book, the first print copy of the new book? These are some of the other books that we've done about Turkmenistan, but this one is the one, the first one to arrive from the printer of his an introduction to his paintings. And so this is the first one to arrive from the printer, and the others are all on a ship. And I hope you're not going to take this back to Toronto, but
That's for you. You can have it.
this is going to go into the Smithsonian's library. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you so much.
No, thank you so much.
Okay, honestly, whatever I had in my speech is already said. So, but anyhow, I'll read my speech and then I'll add it. Okay. So, Honorable Ambassador Aranza and Durdy Bayramov, thank you very much. Mr. Paul Taylor and George Washington University, thank you for hosting this exhibition. So, this exhibition is a celebration of my father's life. Sorry. This exhibition is a celebration of my father's legacy and his love to art. Today my father would have been humble to all the attention that these photographs are receiving. It makes me sad that he could not be here with us today. These photographs are testament to his unique eye and artistic versatility. To a lot of people, Durdy Bayramov was a talented artist, but to me he was my dad and my best friend. When my father traveled to remote villages of Turkmenistan to seek inspiration for his painting, he often brought along my sisters and I. So vivid memories of these wonderful trips have stayed with me from the young age. My mind traveled back in time when these photographs were taken. And the people and villages since come alive for me. Many of them I know myself, so I can show you also around and tell you which one I know. And we actually found many people who is still alive from these photographs. Yeah. Today especially, I want to share something that I think is important for everyone to know. As you walk through the corridor and take notice of the portraits, as Paul Taylor said already, I want to tell you that my father was particularly interesting to photograph older people. And the reason why is because he was always looking for his mom and dad. So I found the notes in his diary, which says, every time I look or photograph or paint elderly people, I always think one of them could be my mom or my dad. My father was a very passionate advocate for the art education, for all who aspire to devote their lives to art, especially underprivileged children and youth. He loves teaching art and often brought art supplies for those students who could not afford to pay for them. To continue his legacy, my family and I have established the Durdy Bayramov Art Foundation in Toronto, a non-profit organization dedicated to celebrating the life and legacy of Durdy Bayramov through educational programs which foster cultural exchange and stimulate the vitality of the arts. It is my sincere hope that in the near future, the Foundation will partner with many more academic institutions, such as George Washington University, and continue to introduce these photographs to students and faculty alike. So I want to tell you a little bit about how we established the foundation. In 2012, my dad, he came and visit my family in Toronto and stayed with me for 6 months. And so we visit many museums, and one day my dad, he said, it will be wonderful to have one exhibition here in Canada. After my dad passed away, which is, this month is very special for me because it will be 3 years since he passed away, and it's 14th of February, which is a Valentine's. It's a beautiful day, and so when I came back after he passed away, so something was bothering me, and I said, okay, I have to fulfill his wish. I went to the few galleries and I asked, okay, I would like to make an exhibition, but something that, people, they said, okay, you have to sell, and there's the commercial value. So I say, I'm not selling the painting, what should I do? So there is no, still, you know, it's been a month now since I came back and I cannot organize anything. So it's just one day, I told to my husband, okay, so what should we do? And we decided to empty the house where he lived for 6 months, and we did the exhibition there. With the great help, neighbors, friends, it was really successful. So within 3 weeks, we got more than 700 people visited, and we was published in the main newspaper in Toronto. So that's, from that moment, you know, it actually, we understand that it's important that we have to continue. So this is how we opened the foundation. So during this, in January 26th, the foundation, we celebrate 2 years. And during these 2 years, we did a couple of events, which is, one of them was in World Bank exhibition, and Mr. Razov helped us to organize, and I'm very grateful to the government of Turkmenistan, because my dad was a truly, he loved his country. He loved from the bottom of his heart, which is, I didn't realize when we opened the foundation, it was just to promote my dad's art. But later on we understand that we are promoting all our national, all Turkmenistan. And I'm so proud, so proud to do that. And so I could tell you more and more, but I think I have to wrap up. So thank you so much for all of you, for your support. But yeah, and I can also do it for you tour, if you would like. So thank you.